Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Bright Side of Beauty podcast. This week, we are talking all things pigment. I have my resident guest here, Katie Speaks.
Hello, friends.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like our episodes together because I feel like we really nerd out. And this week, we're really nerding out on a topic that you're very passionate about.
And hits close to home.
Definitely hits close to home. We already covered acne and rosacea, which I feel like is where my heart lies as a rosacea girl myself. But diving into pigment, this is, I would say as a practice, this is kind of our nitty gritty. Like this is our bread and butter.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, 50% of the population has pigment issues.
That is very true. Yeah. And for us too, I think something that sets us apart as a practice is that we specialize in treating Fitzpatrick 1 through 6, which if you go back to some of our previous episodes together, we talk about what that Fitzpatrick scale is and melanin depth, how you really need to get regional to know how pigment is going to throw, which I think we should definitely cover again today. But that is something that at Beyond Skin Aesthetics, we specialize in treating those deeper melanin depths. And therefore, 40% of our practice, 40, even 50, would you say it's more than that?
Yeah, I would say it's probably 50-50.
Of a Fitzpatrick 4 through 6 versus a 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And that is something that you have to be very careful over treating. And we have become experts at.
Yeah, I think that was always our goal as well, because, as if you've been to our practice, you know that, hey, I'm a Fitz 2.
Yep.
Dr. Malumba's a Fitz 6.
I always call you a Fitz 1 just for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
If I had lighter eyes, I would probably be a 1.
Yeah, but you're definitely tried and true Fitz 2.
Yeah.
That rhymed.
Tried and true Fitz 2.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. But we do. We have you as a Fitz 2. I'm right there in that. If you look at my ancestry, I'm put in a Fitz 3, but all of my coloring is a Fitz 2.
Yeah.
So I think we treat me as a Fitz 2 with the knowledge of I could throw closer to a 3 just because of my ancestry. But and my mom is more of a Fitz 3 side. But we have like us as kind of our base. And then we go all the way to Dr. Malumba, who is from Uganda and is a true Fitzpatrick 6. And our goal is that we are able to treat both groups.
Everyone who walks through the door.
Yes, exactly. So today, let's talk about treating pigment. Let's talk about kind of our methodology. And then we are actually going to do a separate recording where we're really diving into the specifics. So we're going to give kind of an overview of pigment and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so pigment.
Where do we begin?
Well, I guess let's start with actually covering again Fitzpatrick 1 through 6. So we said it a little bit. We have you as a Fitz 2. Can you give us like an overview of what the Fitzpatrick scale is and why it's important to know where somebody is from regionally?
Yeah, so it comes all about their heritage. So if you're looking just at someone's skin color, you might look and say someone from, I don't know, Japan is a Fitzpatrick 1, but they're actually a 3 or a 4 because of where they are from geographically. So you can't just look at their skin color. You also have to look at their eye color, their heritage, because we want to see how easily do you burn? How do you heal, right?
That's the big one. Right? How do you heal? Because we could have a patient come in that's for example, a Fitzpatrick 5. And so they are more of that Indian descent, for example. And when we do a chemical peel or microneedling, they are going to throw dark pigment first because that's how their body heals. So we have to prepare them that could be what happens. Most likely that's going to be their journey.
Yep.
And what the time frame looks like on that so that they are not shocked in the process of that. And we're holding their hand because we could even prepare them. And then as soon as it happens, they're going to freak out. So we have to be prepared to hold their hand through that entire process.
Yeah. I think when it comes to that, education is key. So you want to educate your patients prior to being treated, during the treatment, and then after the treatment, and send them home with appropriate aftercare instructions.
Mhm.
If someone is asking you a lot of questions, call them in a week, call them in 2 weeks, ask them how they're doing. Don't
Mhm.
let them reach out to you. Reach out to them. So that way it takes away the you have to make up for what happens. Because when you are those darker pigments, I would say even sometimes like anyone, right? A 1 through a 6, once you have a treatment done, we can sometimes predict how their outcome is going to be, but we can't always predict how their outcome is going to be. So we always have to just say that this is what's going to happen. So PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So then you have to prepare them, which leads me into prepping their skin.
Absolutely. Well, first, okay, so starting with education before we get into prepping your skin, because I think we're gonna really go in
Okay.
on the prep side. But when they come in and you're starting to educate them, part of that is educating them on what their Fitzpatrick type is and what is typical. How do you ask them discovery questions to get to that point and then walk them through that? Like, what's that conversation look like?
So our intake form has what is your heritage. So I always go back and look at the intake form. If they don't fill that out, obviously we're going to ask them more questions, but then I'm going to say, okay, I just need to confirm a little bit of information. What is your heritage? Like, where are your ancestors from? That usually gets them talking a little bit, and then it always becomes a fun conversation, right?
Yeah.
After that, you can ask them, okay, what is your eye color? Are you wearing colored contacts?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one.
You may have these beautiful blue eyes staring at you, but then you have brown underneath. I can't say what I normally say, but you have brown eyes like me, right? So that might be hiding underneath of it.
Yeah.
Um, if you have a lot of pigment on your skin, you can always ask them to see, if they've had any sun exposure lately. You can always look at their neck, behind their ear. That's going to give them a more accurate of what their true skin color actually is.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't always see the light of day behind our ear. Then we're also going to go through, we're talking about the Fitzes. So then what else am I going to ask?
I feel like that really
I think that's
covers
it
it.
as far as the Fitzpatrick goes. Then I go
Yeah,
into
get them
lifestyle.
talking about their family though.
Yes.
And that really, so asking questions like, hey, do you have a picture of your mom and your dad? This helps us to make sure that we're able to identify how your skin is going to react. I know that that seems silly, but this is why. And it becomes a educational opportunity outside of just the discovery questions for that specific treatment. It becomes really like a skin health consultation, which should
Yes.
always be the goal, that we are setting them up for success and sending them out with all the tools and the knowledge that they need to be successful, whether they're at our practice or not. And I think that that's something I've heard providers where they say, I don't write down what I talk about during the consultation because that's my proprietary information. And I don't want them taking the knowledge that I gave them somewhere else for them to, get that treatment elsewhere.
Yeah.
That is definitely not our approach because we want to be bettering the industry as a whole. And if they don't vibe with us, they don't vibe with us. And at least we know that we're giving them all of the information that we have and they are then expanding upon that somewhere else, or they're getting a good service because they're taking our knowledge somewhere else.
1000%. If the least thing that we can do is educate the patient so that if maybe we are not their cup of tea, which we probably are, but if we aren't, then they can find the place that is, and then they're able to go in with that additional knowledge as well.
Absolutely. So we ask those discovery questions. We get to know their family a little bit. We get to know them. This is a great time to ask about their lifestyle as well. This also segues into what is your current routine like? Because when you're asking them about their lifestyle, are they single and they have cats that they like to cuddle with on the weekends and they will put on a face mask every single Friday and Saturday for 30 minutes to an hour while they're watching Netflix with their cat? That's a completely different situation than a mom of 4 under 4 that is constantly chasing them around and barely has time to wash her face.
Or someone who is at the baseball field, all the
Yes.
time, and there's dust and dirt flying everywhere. So
Yes. Yeah.
we need to know, okay, are you working out?
Yes, that too.
If you
Yeah.
are working out, how like diligent are you? I mean, I have people that I stalk on Instagram and they have 72 hours to not work out. And at that 73rd hour, they're posting a selfie in the gym, a sweaty selfie.
And do you ever wonder if they waited to post that selfie because they know that you're stalking them?
Oh, I've called them out on it.
Yeah, they're probably intentionally posting at that exact time because they know you're watching.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a
We are
message to everyone.
always watching.
Katie will make sure that you are compliant.
Yes.
So we get to know what their lifestyle is like. And then that also transitions into the conversation on how to prep their skin before treating. So things with pigment is that you have to prepare your skin ahead of time, because if you are dealing with pigment, chances are your body will throw pigment
Yes.
when you are creating that intentional injury to the skin. And so let's go into, you were going to talk about prepping the skin. Go off.
Okay.
Tell us everything.
Well, I guess so. Before I go down that line, the biggest thing is that we want you to be on a good skincare routine at home so that we can better predict your outcomes. So if you are coming into us and you just are not interested in the skincare that we are recommending, we may not move forward with that treatment because you say you're using a cleanser, a moisturizer, and a sunscreen. But if you're using a chemical-based sunscreen that your skin is truly absorbing those skin rays, it's your pigment's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. So we have to know that you are willing to commit to us, just like we are willing to commit to you.
And that you're receptive of the knowledge that we're giving you.
Yes.
So if we tell you, okay, this sunscreen is an amazing sunscreen. However, if you're dealing with pigment on your face that we are trying to treat right now, you do need to switch your sunscreen to this one, and this is why. And you say, absolutely not, I'm not doing that. That leads to, okay, is this the right treatment path for you? Maybe we need to reevaluate this when you are willing to switch that sunscreen.
Absolutely. So that's, what are BSA's non-negotiables? If you have pigment and if we are working on treating that pigment. And some people are like, I was born with my freckles.
I'm good
they're
with
a
them.
part of me. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned about anti-aging. Cool. Great.
Yeah.
But someone comes in specifically for a pigment. The number one non-negotiable is mineral sunscreen.
Yep.
And ideally with natural iron oxides.
We love those natural iron oxides.
So good.
Yes.
The second one is going to be a tyrosinase inhibitor.
Okay, and what is a tyrosinase inhibitor?
So a tyrosinase inhibitor is kind of a whole conglomerate of things, right? It can be so many different things like hydroquinone, vitamin C, kojic acid, tranexamic acid. So it's encompassing not everything, but a lot of different things. Even mandelic acid is a tyrosinase inhibitor. Mm-hmm. So it's going to help block that tyrosinase enzyme that directly impacts your melanin production, your melanocyte production. Melanocytes, not good.
Not
melanogenesis. Did I say that right? I can never say that right.
I always say melanogenesis, but
melanogenesis.
It's the exact same thing. It's just whether you say melanocyte or melanocyte.
Yeah.
Tomato.
Right.
It's just
data and data. Had that conversation earlier.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's actually jump sideways here, and then we'll come back to I say tyrosinase inhibitor. Yeah, that's how I say it.
I'm not sure how I said it. Tyrosinase inhibitor.
It's gonna have to just.
I'm not going to say it right because you're said it that
about
way.
It, right?
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that.
Yep,
for sure. But let's jump over to melanocytes. So melanocytes are what the excess of pigment end up stemming from, right? Is you have an excess of those melanocytes. So let's dive into that really quick. What happens when pigment is forming? I kind of just said it. Sorry, pop quizzing here. So when pigment is forming, it's an excess of melanocyte production. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, and that can be triggered by a couple of different things.
Yes.
Right? UV exposure, mm-hmm. HEV, free radical, all that exposure. So like blue lights, everything. But then also hormones,
Yes, absolutely.
lifestyle, heat, spicy foods, alcohol, all of that can trigger inflammation, which is then going to trigger that melanocyte cascade.
Exactly. And the way that I think of it is the same way as I feel like it's more commonly talked about with acne that a normal cell turnover is there's one skin cell that's coming out of one pore, for example.
Yeah.
And when you have five that are trying to push up, that's when the clogging occurs. When you think of pigment, you can kind of think of it in the exact same way. A normal melanocyte production is that even pigment that we love to see, that glass even skin tone. When you have dark spots, whether that be sunspots, melasma, hyperpigmentation, hypopigmentation, any sort of discoloration, whether it be dark or lighter,
Yep.
it is a dysregulation of the melanocyte production in that spot. So that could be there are 5 little melanocytes that are firing versus 1 in that exact area, which is why it looks darker in that area. So using a tyrosinase inhibitor is what is almost like the light switch theory there of you're basically switching the light switch off on that pigment production where it is evening everything out. So that's not bleaching your skin. We're not getting like a Michael Jackson effect where, you know, you're slowly lightening your skin and trying to make your skin into a different color as much as it is just giving you your natural even skin tone, that natural glow.
The skin you were born with.
The skin that you're born with.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is our goal. Okay. So we have everybody start off with a tyrosinase inhibitor. Why is it that we insist on everybody having a tyrosinase inhibitor when we are treating their skin, even if we're not necessarily treating them for pigment, but we are treating them, say somebody comes in for skin laxity and fine lines and wrinkles, and they are getting RF microneedling done and they're any Fitzpatrick whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
why do we do
there's
that?
always a chance that you can throw pigment, I guess, with anything that you do. So when you do RF microneedling, you are introducing heat into the skin. When you introduce heat, you can trigger that melanocyte cascade, and then you can develop pigment from introducing that heat right then and there. So you want to use a tyrosinase inhibitor so that if you do produce pigment, that you're taking care of that pigment right then and there. So that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If you already have pigment, number one, we have to treat the existing pigment that you have. But number two, we want to stop any additional pigment from forming, or at least slow down that cascade.
Absolutely. Okay. So I love this question. We get this question from other industry leaders as well as, patients that are walking in our door. But can you treat pigment in the middle of the summer?
Yes. And that's my favorite time to treat pigment.
Why is that?
Because that's when we're throwing the most pigment in theory, right? We're outside more because we are out in the sun. Even if you have on the biggest, widest brim hat and you have on your mineral sunscreen and you're reapplying with your sunscreen brush, you can still throw pigment because you are being exposed to that heat. So if your specifically melasma reacts to heat, why wouldn't you turn off the garden hose or turn off that light switch to that melanin production when it is being triggered? So we may do things a little different at BSA because treat it when you're exposed to it. Don't treat it when you have all this damage that has come up.
Yeah, don't let it get out of control and then try to come in and do recovery.
Exactly, because you're just kind of chasing it. So instead of chasing it, keep up with it. And we can always gauge, we know our patients, so we're not going to be super aggressive with someone's pigment starting off the bat in the summer. But then once we have that established relationship with them, then we can go full on.
Yeah.
Full on. Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
I think that this really goes down to as well, can you trust your patient and really knowing your patient, their skin, their lifestyle? I have gotten my best results with a pigment patient that actually her family owns a boat. We started her treatment in May. And by the end of the summer, she was out on the boat with her kids and her husband all summer long. We got her on a really good skincare regimen. She was religious about wearing her sunscreen and having a hat on if she wasn't in the water, or even if she was in the water, sometimes she would have it on. But she was really diligent about making sure, which I do want to sidebar with that too. Wearing a hat is something that you have to be cautious of too with pigment, because some people can say, I'm religious about wearing my hat, and you notice that their pigment below is totally fine, but right at their hat line, it's really bad because it's trapping that heat. So that is a conversation that you have to have. But I've gotten some of my best results with this patient during that May to October timeframe when she was boating, because she was on a good skincare regimen, and we were honestly treating her with very summer safe treatments. So we were using a light laser that has no downtime. We were using a light chemical peel that has no downtime. So even though we were getting that cell turnover and we were addressing the pigment, it wasn't giving her anything where she couldn't be on the boat that weekend, as much as it was just more pertinent that she was wearing her sunscreen as she was going. And her results were absolutely incredible. You can go check them out on my Instagram. So that all to be said, do you have to peel somebody's face off, burn somebody's face off with a laser to get good pigment results? Do you have to microneedle until the cows come home to get good pigment results?
No, we can approach it in so many different ways. And so it's all about our comfort level with the patient, but then also the patient's comfort level. And how quickly do they want to get rid of something? Yeah, we can make your face fall off. We can make it question what we did for about 8 weeks. You'll have phenomenal results, but it's a commitment. So, I think that's a great thing, is we have packages and we can customize these packages to fit the the patient's individual needs and what they're comfortable with, but then also what we're comfortable with, because at the end of the day, we have to stand behind what we recommend for our patients. And, we have to know what is the best thing for this patient in particular. Yeah. We also like to, I believe, and I know you believe, so we're going to say it's BSA's philosophy. That's what we're going to say. Everyone should be on some form of tyrosinase inhibitor, because at some point in time, you are going to have some sort of pigment. Your skin cells are slowing down. You're continuing to age. You're exposed to stuff longer periods of time without that cellular turnover. So there are going to be what people refer to as age spots that come up. So why not stop that production and that damage from happening deep down? So that you don't have as much deeper damage.
Absolutely. And something that we definitely have started to utilize a lot in practice is, since we brought on a imaging device where we can actually scan their face and look at what that pigment is, it's easier for us in consultation to explain to a patient, this is why. Because some patients may come in and say, I don't have any sun damage, I don't have any pigmentation. But when we're able to do that advanced imaging and show them what's below the surface and what we're trying to prevent from coming up, it's a lot easier to explain to somebody that is in their mid to late 20s why they should start on a tyrosinase inhibitor now versus waiting until they're in their mid to late 30s and it's a recovery process versus a preventative process.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say the nice thing now is so many more people are wearing sunscreen. So, people that are younger than us, that sunscreen is part of their daily routine. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we won't see as much damage in these younger generations as what we are seeing, from us and from our parents. And I went to a tanning bed almost every single day after school in high school. Well, I'm dealing with that damage now.
And I was at the tail end of the tanning craze of things, where it was so popular to tan, honestly, all the way until it was really my sophomore year of college, when tanning was no longer quote unquote trendy to go and do. And it was almost like people didn't care if they were tan. It was just like the trendy thing. Like, it was kind of like going to get your hair done. It was just like you wanted to do that. It was just a part of being a girl, or, It was just a cute thing to do. It was a trendy thing to do. And so I am even seeing with my imaging, okay, wait, it's been 10 years since the last time I was in a tanning bed, but like that pigment is still there. That damage is still there. That cellular damage is something that I can't undo now. And I think these newer generations are more pertinent to that information. They know that it's more damaged.
Yeah.
I'm so interested, especially talking on this new generation and wearing sunscreen. That's something that Vera has always been interested in. And she looks at it as like, that's like her makeup in a way, and like her friends too. Like that's her trendy thing.
Yeah,
is wearing sunscreen.
She ran out of her no-show the other day, and she made sure to let me know.
See, and that's not even a tinted sunscreen of any sort, but it's still something that, like, you know, she's reaching for a SPF that, or a lip gloss SPF versus a regular lip gloss now. And that is something that, like, even her friends are asking about and interested in. That's something that we're seeing on TikTok. We're seeing it on Instagram. I love this trend because it's going to make a huge difference on the damage that we are going to be treating here in a couple of years.
Yeah, and we're exposed to so many more free radicals and pollution and UV damage, and that's only going to continue to get worse.
Yeah.
So making sure that everyone is protected, you know, and has that, you know, the mineral protection, but then also the antioxidant protection from that. So again, BSA, our approach is an internal approach to external beauty. So another thing that we like to utilize is if we're going to apply, you know, okay, vitamin C is a tyrosinase inhibitor. If you're applying vitamin C topically, you should also be ingesting some sort of antioxidant as well. I haven't seen any true clinical studies behind this, but I would like to see a clinical study on how the pigment production, if you're taking an oral antioxidant, how that does change internally.
Well, we know people. We can do that clinical
We
study.
sure do.
Yes, I love this new era of Beyond Skin Aesthetics because we have made some incredibly intelligent friends in our specialty, but also just in the specialty of medicine in general, not just the specialty of aesthetics. And that is something that I'm sure we can find somebody that'll do that study with us.
Yeah.
We definitely should do that. Okay, so because we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of what we do at Beyond Skin Aesthetics. So if you are a clinician, or even if you're a patient and you just really want to nerd out on the dirty details on things, we're going to do more of a deep dive into the specifics of our approach and how we are treating patients inside of the treatment room. But our BSA approach is everybody is on a tyrosinase inhibitor. Everybody is using an antioxidant of some sort, and there's a large range of antioxidants, but we make sure that they have an antioxidant that's helping to fight those free radicals, and everybody is on a mineral SPF as well. Yes. Anything that I missed there that are like our non-negotiables?
No.
That's kind of like our base, and then we build from there.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I love it. If you are interested in the dirty details, definitely check out the show notes. We're going to link over to our brand new Patreon too, so that you can get the dirty details on what we're doing in the treatment room. And any closing notes for this episode?
I think sometimes people say, is it too late? Am I too late? You're never too late. Start now. Start today, start tomorrow.
What's our range of patients that we treat at BSA?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I think this week alone, I have a 12-year-old.
Yep.
And I have an 89-year-old.
I didn't know how old she was, but
yeah.
All right, I would say how many levels she is. Not how old she is, but how many levels she is. Because that's our framework, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the color science team. It made us pertinent to that one.
Yes.
Yes. But she's a higher level of wisdom.
She sure is.
Yes. I love that. So really, I mean, you can start young on a sunscreen and you can treat pigment all the way up to 89.
All the way
and
up.
above.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, if you have any questions, please let us know. You can let us know on Instagram, Facebook. Check us out at beyondskinaesthetics.com. And of course, head over to our brand new Patreon. We will see you next week on the Bright Side of Beauty podcast.